The History and Mission of the Adorers of the Blood of Christ. The Adorers of the Blood of Christ were founded by a young Italian woman named Maria de Matias. Maria was born and baptized on February 4, 1805. She and her family lived in the small Italian hill town of Vallacorsa, where her father was mayor. Most of the people were poor and made a living by tending sheep or farming on the barren hillsides. The early 1800s was a time of political unrest in central Italy, and many became bandits living in the hills and robbing others to support themselves. Violence and bloodshed was all around. Although Maria's family was well off, the violence touched her life. As a child, she witnessed bloody attacks on villagers and was forced to spend most of her time inside because of the fear of being kidnapped. In addition, her mother suffered from depression and became bitter toward life and Maria. On the other hand, her father was a tender, loving man. He often told her Bible stories. It was from him that she first heard the story of the innocent lamb that was led to the slaughter. It was this image of Jesus as the Lamb of God, who was willing to sacrifice himself for the salvation of others, that touched her heart the most. She found comfort in knowing that God loved us enough to send his Son to shed his blood for us, and that it was love that conquers evil, not revenge and violence. In 1822, Gaspar del Buffalo, a missionary of the Precious Blood, came to Vallacorsa to preach a parish mission. He stressed God's sacrificial love for all and how Jesus had shed his blood so that all might be saved. His preaching stirred in Maria the desire to help others and to make God's love known to all. 2 years later, another Precious Blood priest, John Merlini, visited Vallacorsa and agreed to become a spiritual guide for Maria. He urged her to reach out to the women and girls in the town who were in need of religious instruction and guidance and prayer. He encouraged her to serve God in the world. In 1834, Maria accepted an invitation to teach in Acuto, Italy, another small hill town. There, on March 4th, she opened the doors of her first school. Soon other women joined her in her mission of teaching reading, math, writing, and religion to the poor girls in the isolated small towns of central Italy. She also provided opportunities for religious instruction for the women, believing that empowering women would help strengthen family life. Maria was described as a girl in a hurry. Her days were filled with writing letters, encouraging her sisters, guiding the new members of her young community, overseeing the building of the central house, keeping financial records, tending to the sick, providing for the needs of the sisters and students, and traveling often on a mule to visit the sisters in their far-flung places of work. Always she was guided by the desire to help the dear neighbor. She often suffered from fear and the belief that she was not good enough, but found comfort in knowing that she was loved by God. Maria's earthly life came to an end on August 20th, 1866, at the age of 61. On May 18th, 2003, Maria's holiness was recognized by the Catholic Church when she was declared a saint. Although focused on the mission of her congregation in Italy, Maria also began looking for missionary possibilities beyond the boundaries of Italy. In 1847, she agreed to have a small group of sisters from Steinerberg, Switzerland, join her community. Eventually, these sisters were forced to move to Germany and open an orphanage in Gurtweiler. In the early 1870s, the sisters were exiled by the German government, and most of them came to the United States, where they settled in southern Illinois. They taught school in the small farming towns that had been settled by German immigrants. Under the guidance of Sister Clementine Zare, the group grew in numbers. In 1893, the first Adores arrived in Westphalia, Kansas. In 1902, Sister Clementine and 3 other sisters arrived in Wichita to take possession of St. John's Academy as a central house for the sisters in the West. The number of sisters continued to grow, and sisters were sent to various places in Nebraska, New Mexico, and Oklahoma to teach in parish schools and minister in hospitals. A small group of the German sisters went to Bosnia. Because of political unrest, a group of them came to the United States in 1906. After spending time in Taylorville and Alton, Illinois, they settled in Columbia, Pennsylvania in 1925. There they established St. Anne's Nursing Home, St. Joseph's Academy, taught in Croatian and African American schools, and organized women's retreats. In 1929, the congregation was divided into subdivisions called provinces. The sisters in the East became the Columbia Province, the sisters in Illinois and Missouri formed the Ruma Province, and all of the sisters in the West became the Wichita Province. In 2000, the 3 U.S. provinces merged into the U.S. region. The mission center of the U.S. Adores is located in St. Louis. From here, the regional leadership team coordinates the life and ministry of the sisters who are in the United States and in some foreign countries. According to the Constitution of the Adores of the Blood of Christ, our corporate mission in the Church is to collaborate with Christ in His work of redemption. We accomplish this mission by witnessing to God's love and ministering that love to others, especially the poor, the oppressed, and the deprived. The sisters go out to serve the dear neighbor in a number of ways, including education, health care, parish ministry, and social services. You will find Adores working with the homeless, victims of domestic violence, the elderly, immigrants, young children, teenagers and adults, the physically and mentally ill, the poor, and when Adores no longer have the physical energy to engage in active work, they spend their days praying for the needs of our world. In 2002, we U.S. Adores developed a mission statement describing how we see ourselves living out our mission and how we want to affect the world in which we live. This mission statement says that the United States Adores of the Blood of Christ, rooted in the gospel of Jesus, are ecclesial women, living in community, witnessing God's love and mission to empower others, foster oneness, celebrate life, form right relationships, and walk as compassionate companions. This is the mission we share with Adores all around the world. Among the countries where you will find ASCs are Argentina, Brazil, and Bolivia in Latin America, Tanzania and Guinea-Bissau in Africa, Korea, India, Vietnam, and Philippines in Asia, and Italy, Croatia, Poland, and Liechtenstein in Europe. In 1992, this mission took on new meaning when 5 of our sisters were killed in Liberia, West Africa by rebel soldiers. The sisters had opted to stay with the people they served rather than seek their own safety. Every 6 years, representatives from the various regions and foundations around the world meet as part of the congregation's General Assembly. The General Assembly sets direction for the congregation and calls us to renew our life, to put out into the deep and embrace the transformation that leads to life for the community, the church, our world, and our planet. There are many ways that we continue Maria's mission of tending to the needs of the dear neighbor today. One of them is through our incorporated sponsored ministries. These include Villa Maria, which is a skilled care and assisted living facility in Mulvane, Kansas; St. Anne's Retirement Community, a skilled, assisted, and independent living facility in Columbia, Pennsylvania; Newman University in Wichita; and also in Wichita, the Center of Hope, which is a homeless prevention program; and Women's Network, which provides job training and education for victims of domestic violence. We make public statements on issues of concern like care of the environment, reasonable gun control to end the epidemic of violence, end of the death penalty that disproportionately affects minorities, and humane treatment for immigrants. We serve on local boards that help meet the needs of the poor in healthcare and social services. These women continue to live lives of faithfulness, lives of prayer, and lives of community.